So, good morning or good night, depending on where you are in the world, and welcome to another interview of the Shield Dude on a Couch. I'm your host, Hector, and today I'm joined by a member of the band Xerox, and they're like an alternative. It's like an alternative with some emo and some shoegaze to it. So it's a lot of elements, but they're also very inspired by anime. So their Spotify says that they're an inspired anime band that does noise rock. So I'm like, yeah, that explains it. So I'm here with one of the members from Xerox. So first of all, let us know your name and what you do in the band.
Sure. My name is Aiden, and I write the music for the most part and play guitars and bass, and I sing and record and mix and master the album. Also make all the artwork and stuff.
Yeah. Plus, let me congratulate you with you are sipping coffee from a white cup, and you have that white almost gown like you're in a I'm like, is he in a hospital? I don't know. And then you have the white background. I thought either this, either he's painting or he's the guy from American Psycho, and he's gonna have Jared Leto over later and axing by the head. I'm like.
Yeah, definitely painting. No murdering here. Murder's bad, in case you're wondering.
We do not condone murder here in the Shield on a couch. So let's first of all, talk. I know the band is this is kind of a newer band, and for people that probably don't know the band, tell us a little bit of the history of how the band came to be.
Uh, yeah. Um, I just wanted to make fun music that was centered around a story, I suppose. I was doing other musics and it was cool, but I kind of got tired of just like doing the old band thing and like playing shows and stuff. So I just wanted to do something that was directly inspired by my love of anime and the narratives and the visuals of that, as well as just like something that maybe a bit more free musically. Like in the band, there's a lot of just fun stuff that I do with production, with like glitches and stuff, along with the writing. It's just a bit more open ended as opposed to like trying to do something that's a bit more standard or like trying to fit everyone on a role in a band. So I kind of had the freedom to just write whatever I wanted and to do whatever I wanted with the visuals, and I just kind of wanted to go with that. So I just did that years ago. I don't know. I spent a long time just like writing stuff and not trying to pursue anything seriously. So it was kind of like uh, I don't know. It's hard to explain, but the band's been around for a little bit. But then a couple of years ago, I decided to start like really making records and going in more seriously. So then we did put out like the first album like 2 years ago, basically. I was in New York City during the pandemic and here over here, and it was just a crazy time. And wrote a record, and then once I finished that record, I just wanted to make a new one because I kind of had all these ideas in my head. So I just went straight into it, and I got my friend Alice Helicopter to help do the drums, and yeah. So I don't know.
Yeah, because the first album is called Calamity, which makes sense because if you wrote it for the pandemic, you were going through a calamity.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah, exactly.
we were all going. So, but I listened to this one. So, LOL, and yeah, I agree with what you say. It is a fun record, and some of the song title names are truly funny. Like you have a song called Ghosting, but my truly favorite is I like Sponsored Ad and obviously Horny Friends.
Thank you. Yeah, yeah. I really love the titles too. Yeah, Horny Friends is just like
We,
I started.
we all, who doesn't have a friend who's a horny friend? We all know we all have that friend that we can't take them out anywhere because like no man, we can't go out because you're gonna be horny. You're going to be you're going to be like ruining the group for us. So just stay at home, watch some porn, and don't come out with us.
You understand? Yes, very
Yes,
much
this
so.
is serious journalism here in the Shield Dude account. We take each other we take it very seriously. But no, I found them fun. And come on, who doesn't like fun? I like fun tracks. I think I grew up in the 90s, and in the 90s, you had everything. You have serious music, but you also had like fun bands. Who can forget a band called the Presidents of the United States of America? They had a song called Peaches. So you heard before the Super Mario Brothers. This was before it preceded that Peaches, and they were all about fun. But yeah, your love of anime. I know there's a track that is one of the singles, Monster E-Girl, that is
Mhm.
it is inspired by anime. So tell me a little bit about that track and what anime inspired that.
Sure. Yeah. So I was finishing up the third season of Is It Wrong to Try and Pick Up Girls in a Dungeon? It's one of my favorite anime.
I would guess the answer is yes.
Yes, very much so. It's despite the title, I know, a bit lewd. It's very much a wholesome, a wonderful anime. But I finished the third season, and I was just going through a lot at the time. It was a time of hardship for me economically and otherwise, and I was just going through a lot emotionally. And the ending of that season is just very nice. It's very it touched my heart. It's very heartwarming. I don't know. This is really nice. So I kind of cried a bunch after watching the end of it, and then I woke up the next morning, and I just I don't know, it's just all ready to go. So I just hit it and started recording. The whole song fell out, and I was, just going through it the whole day, and I was very much in love with it, and it was very emotional, and I cried a couple times more actually while recording and listening to it, which doesn't
So what is a
usually.
Monster E-Girl?
Well, I'm not sure if that's entirely up for me to decide for people listening. I feel like it's a very interpretable title.
Mhm.
Um, on a literal level, it is somewhat inspired by the anime because there's this monster girl in the show. I don't want to get too into it because I feel like it'll just become a convoluted mess of me being like blah blah blah. But there's a girl that's a monster in the show that gets saved, and that was what's so nice about the ending of the season is that there's this whole show of people are killing monsters all the time because monsters are bad. There's this monster that's not bad, and she kind of changes people's minds about things. So there's a literal inspiration from the anime there, but there's also just a lot more uh, in terms of modern culture, internet culture. Again, I don't really want to I feel like I can't spell it out too much, but I feel like it's a title that's very much open to interpretation from the listener. You could see it as being something bad or good. I don't know, but yeah.
Well, when you say about it, you're talking about, like Monster E-Girl and modern times electronics. I'm thinking to myself, well, maybe it's about the dating apps because there's a lot, there's a lot of monsters out there. Uh, uh, last year I was recently divorced and I did the dating thing, and oh my God, I met some weird people.
I think that's 100% valid interpretation.
I met some weird. There's a story. I don't know if this will get me demonetized, but I went on this date with this girl to a Mexican restaurant, and we're eating. It's normal eating dinner, and all of a sudden she talks all about how she loves anal sex while we are eating tacos, and she didn't say it like really slow, like really. He said it like really loudly, and there's like people there. I'm like trying to eat. I'm like, can you keep it down? And she's like, what's wrong? What's wrong with that? I'm like, not anyone needs to know. She
Sure,
was
yeah.
the type of girl that you do not take home to your mother. But thankfully, I actually met a super nice girl in a dating app. So now I'm no longer in the dating app, thanks God. But but yeah,
Nice.
I can totally understand the simile of like a monster e-girl.
Yeah, yeah,
But yeah.
yeah. I think that's very much appropriate of the title, and I appreciate you sharing that story.
Oh yeah. My channel is not for kids.
Yeah, totally fine with me. Yeah, the dating apps are very strange. I don't know. There's a lot of
They are
strange.
very strange. Back in the day, in the 90s, the thing is, it's when I think it's when the dating app started. But I remember when the internet started, you couldn't see people. But now, like, I think someone told me, like, oh, I'm gonna go on a blind date. I'm like, why? There's no reason to go on a blind date. There's FaceTime. There's it's stupid to go on a blind date in 2023. But yeah,
Yeah,
it's interesting. So I listening to the album, I think it's like you're inspired by anime, but it's like a social critique of like modern day stuff in a humorous way.
yeah.
Uh so let's look at the album artwork and hope this is not your grandma on the cover.
I actually thought about my dear grandma when I was putting this out. I'm like, I really can't show her this like album artwork.
Well,
She might.
if she's not alive, she's like, she would be rolling in her grave. Like, look what my grandson did. He, he put me in an album cover and put like an alien face to myself. But I think it's a cool. So tell me a little about the inspiration because it's cool because you look at them, they're looking at the phone and there's like shit on fire at the end and they don't care because they're looking at their phone. So basically, it's what people do in real life.
Yeah, no, exactly, 100%. That is exactly what I was going for. Um, yeah, so like, there's actually kind of a funny story behind it though. I didn't
You can tell
have
it.
I didn't have the album artwork done up until like the day before I released it, which is not typically. I always set aside time, like it's design or getting the artwork's the whole process, and you don't want to like rush it. But there's just so much work to do with mixing, and mastering, and like recording, and just literally up until like the last minutes I released it, I was just doing so much work. So it was the night before I was going to release the record, and I was like, I really need to get work. I need to get to work on this album artwork, or else I'm just going to be screwed. So it was like midnight because I just been working all day, and I was like, finally finished what I wanted with the audio. I was like, I'll just get a little bit drunk. I'll put some chicken in the oven, and I'll just get this. I'll work on this. So I didn't know exactly what I wanted, but I had some kind of ideas, and I went on this royalty-free website. And originally, I wanted something else, but I couldn't quite find a thing for it. And then in the back of my head, I kept on having this idea of like an old person looking at a phone and like being really amazed by it. So like I knew there's a seed there. So I was looking, I kind of typed that into the royalty free site, and I found this photo, which doesn't have the, fucked up faces, but I found this photo of the two, and I was like, oh, this is perfect. And then I downloaded it. I got some fire from a different picture, and like I put it together, but it wasn't quite working. And then I was like going through the filters, and I like saw the liquify filter, which is like kind of a standard you learn in Photoshop, but you don't really use it that often because it's just kind of useless. But I was like, let's just try it, and I just did very basic, just like 1, 2, 3 on the eyes and the mouth for each of them, and I was like, oh, this is perfect. So it just came together super organically in about like 20 minutes, and there's like kind of kids running away in the background, and I was like, oh, the fire thing. I had the whole concept, so I just put it together, and then it just like worked. And like as soon as I had it finished, I just started like laughing hysterically, and that's how I knew. I was like, okay, this is good.
Yeah.
I was a
You
little
know
bit
what
worried.
would be funny if like you're playing a show and the old lady shows up and she's like, pay me some royalty, you bitch.
I've thought about that.
You
Yeah,
you mean you're playing the show and the old lady comes and she's like, I know you motherfucker.
I've got
You
your
you,
number.
you
I'll
used
give
my
it.
picture for your album cover and you made my eyes all googly eye and shit.
Yeah, it wasn't the nervous. If I
Yeah,
meet
I
her, I'll
don't
get.
think you're gonna have like a Nirvana baby like lawsuit in your hands.
It's the opposite. Yeah.
The old, the old, the old lady with the weird eyes lawsuit. Yeah, but yeah, no, when I saw that picture and they're looking at the phone, everything's so fine. It's kind of funny because the other day I was like just out somewhere. I think I was like in a pub or something, and I was listening to music, and I had my phone away because I wanted to enjoy the music, and I look around, and everyone was on their phone. And
Yeah.
I'm thinking, you know what? I know the phone is useful, but it depletes the purpose of going out. Like if you're out watching a band or something and you're in your phone the whole time, then why the fuck did you go out? Like the purpose is to disconnect. Like
Yeah.
when I'm out somewhere, I like to like maybe if I'll take a few pictures, but then I want to put my phone away and I want to enjoy life and pretend that it's the 90s.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. That critique, I think, definitely falls in line with the themes of the album. It's yeah, the whole, looking at the phone while everything burns. It's definitely the statement. I mean, it is just, it's both like, it's kind of infuriating because there's so much progress and potential with technology and phones and everything, and there are definitely good uses for it. It's there's no point in just being like, ah, it's all bad. But at the same time, it is obviously bad when like there's just this sort of addiction to information, or just like at night I'll be like reading articles and stuff, and there's just like these horrifying things I'm reading about happening all over the world. Military conflicts, geopolitical conflicts that are just like having real impact on people's lives. Most often, just like poor middle class people that just live in these countries and are having bad things happen because of these awful things. And it's like it's just bizarre to like read and like emote about these things and then have nothing to do about it but scroll to the next article. And especially when articles can go from like being like an article about something horrible to just being something inane about someone's opinion on something like, oh, I think this about this TV show. It's just very weird,
Yeah,
to like be able to watch the world burn and just be kind of
yeah.
consumed by it. Like it's bizarre. So
Yeah, I know what you
yeah, that
mean. For example, right now we have that horrible war in the Gaza Strip, Palestine, and here in Puerto Rico, they talk about that. But then you have the front cover that I don't know if you know him, Daddy Yankee, who was like a famous like reggaeton artist, just did his last show, and he's now he's now a born again Christian. I'm like, who the fuck cares? Like, and he said it in a concert and everyone's like, oh yes, he has repented. So yeah, after all the strippers and who knows what else he did, now he's religious, and he does it and he says that in a full concert. So I know what's coming up next. He's gonna be a minister, and he already has all the people there that are going to give him money, which I find hilarious. uh that and that happens here a lot in Puerto Rico with rappers that they have like the foulest language and then they turn to Christ. I'm like they do it the same way. They do like a super huge public statement, and now one of them is even a minister. So
wow.
he used to throw money in his concerts and now he throws Bibles. But yeah, it's hilarious. So I like the last song, "My Slow Joke," and because you wrote it. What exactly is the slow joke?
uh, that's a secret, but I
Because I reminded me of a friend of mine that is horrible at telling jokes. So every time that he's going to tell a joke, he's like, "I promise it's gonna be funny," and then he tells the joke and he explains why the joke is funny, and nobody laughs. And so I'm like, maybe it's a slow joke.
yeah, no, that's a good interpretation. Yeah, that song is strange. It's hard to get into the specific meaning, but I do really like the song. Thanks for saying that. I thought that was such a cool song. Um, yeah, a slow joke. I think it could be a number of things. I mean, huh.
Well, you have slow violence too.
Yeah, exactly. They do tie into each other thematically, so it's like there is definitely some interplay with the lyrics there. But yeah, I think a slow joke in could just be a joke that happens over time that's not very funny. So yeah, kind of exactly.
Yeah, maybe like that trope in movies where they have like a running theme of a joke
Hmm.
in some movies, and sometimes it's funny, sometimes it's not. For me, the only long running joke in a movie that is funny, still to me, I
Hmm.
still laugh at that scenes. It's this old movie from the 80s called Better Off Dead with John Cusack. And I don't know if you remember if you've seen that movie, but there's a scene where there's like the kids that they take the newspapers, and he's
Mhm.
asking for his $2. And the whole movie, every time he appears, he's like, "I want my $2," and it's like a running female joke until the
It-
end of and he never gets his $2. So, and
Hells yeah.
the funny thing is like, wow, a newspaper for $2. Those were the
Yeah.
times.
Yeah, for reals. That would be nice. I think I actually have seen that movie. I've seen a bunch of John Cusack. I was a big fan of John Cusack. I may still am, but
Yeah, he
yeah.
always gets wet in every movie.
Yeah, that's true. It's the hair. His hair just works with being wet, I think, with face
Yeah,
and the hair.
like any John, like there's actors that in every movie there's things like, for example, John Cusack always gets wet. Tom Cruise always runs,
Yeah,
and
definitely.
Jean-Claude Van Damme always shows his ass. Like,
Yeah, the splits, dude. I
yeah, I
love John.
remember the 80s. They had like the sex scenes, and you couldn't see the girl because you had to look at his ass. I'm like, why am I looking at Jean-Claude's ass?
That was the asset. Yeah, I've watched a bunch of Jean-Claude Van Damme movies. There's like one of my favorite ones. It's like a rom-com that takes place in America. He's just like average Joe American with a crazy Dutch accent who's taking this lady across America, and there's so many scenes where just for no reason he does the splits and shows his ass. It makes no sense. Like the very opening scene is just like a minute. It's like a panning shot. He's like a yoga instructor or something. It's just like a big shot on his ass, and all these ladies being like, "Oh, damn!" And it's absolutely hilarious. Like it must be a contractual. He's just like, if I'm in this movie, you got to show me doing the splits in my buns.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it has to be done. So, for you, the writing process for the record, how do you tackle the writing process?
Sure. Yeah, there's like a lot of different ways. I try not to approach it too much like from one perspective, but basically, kind of however the song comes. Sometimes it starts on the bass, sometimes it starts on the drums, sometimes it starts on the guitar, the vocals, but also some things just come to me as ideas. Like sponsored ad, I knew I wanted to make a thing that started out as an ad and like just kind of critiqued and made fun of how much advertisement is just force fed to us all the time to make action
Oh
part
my
of the
God.
song. Just
Damn you,
like
Facebook. Like, there's so many
yeah.
times, like, there's sometimes that I'm talking. So right now we're talking and the phone is near. So I wonder if I'm gonna get like a lot of anime shit, or maybe some anal stuff. They're like,
Yeah.
we're listening. This is what you need. I remember a few years ago, when I just turned like 40 something, I started getting a lot of ads for erectile dysfunction. And I'm
Oh
like,
my.
why the hell am I getting these ads? And there's like a button that you can press, like, why am I getting this? And they send you an explanation. Well, you're getting this because you're in the 40 plus age. And that's where men start getting and I wrote a comment. I am not, so stop
Yeah.
sending me those those ads. I don't need them. So yeah,
Yeah, it's insane. It's pervasive. It's bizarre and hilarious at
yeah,
times, but just ultimately annoying.
yeah.
Yeah,
The
so
last ones I've been getting is a lot of like move to Canada and work, and I'm like, when did I mention Canada?
yeah, it's bizarre. Yeah, they're not. Yeah, it's awful.
It's
I don't know.
yeah, no, it's bizarre, but that's the type of world that we live in.
That,
So yeah, I know the album it's already out. You put it out in October. Is it out digitally or are there physical copies?
no physical copies right now, just digitally. Yeah, I might get physical copies. Just yeah, working on that.
That's when the old lady's gonna show up at your show.
Hells yeah, bring them on.
You imagine you're like playing and the spotlight show, and it's the old lady just like dead eyes looking at
uh,
you, and she's like, "I know what you did."
I want 0.5 royalty on each person. Copy sold.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
like, I want the whole 5 cents or something
Yeah.
like that. Yeah, but yeah, it's hilarious. So people can, I'm sure they can buy it on Bandcamp, right?
Yeah, Bandcamp. Yeah, you can stream it wherever. Yeah, all accessible. YouTube,
Yeah.
Spotify, etc.
And the last
Yeah.
question that I had to you was with the name. Why Xerox? Is it a
Um,
character in an anime?
no, although Zero is actually used all the time in anime. Like one of my favorite animes, ReZero, Starting Life in Another World. Zero's in the title there, and it's just all over the place. But uh, yeah, the name we we had a
Is
different name for.
Castlevania anime? I don't think so,
I
right? Because I saw Castlevania a little bit on Netflix.
Okay, so this is getting into the weeds. I would say technically no, but I guess it depends on perspective. For me, it has to come from Japan to
Yeah.
specifically be anime because I think people just use anime as a catch-all term for animation, which is understandable. But there's different things. There's like, and yes, anime is animation. Yes,
Oh,
Castlevania is animation.
so there's a
But
few shows that my kids watch that I think would term as anime because there's one called like Ninja something where there's like this little like teddy bears that turn into like dinosaur robots or something. I don't know if it's anime, but my kids love them.
well, that's good.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, yeah.
yeah.
It's become a lot. It's become quite popular, so it's kind of being thrown around as a catch-all term. I think if you enjoy animation, then that's fantastic. It doesn't necessarily matter where it comes from. If a show brings you joy and you get something out of it, that's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I don't know. I specifically kind of like the stuff from Japan just because there's like they just do certain things with the narratives and the storylines and the animation specifically. That's just like it's
And they're
hard. You can't
usually
really
more violent.
way more violent.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's they really explore like trauma and like violence and like a lot more about the human experience than I think traditional animation. Like if you watch animation from America or something, it's much the characters are a bit, I would say, thinner or just they don't go as much into the psychological aspect of characters. And the narratives I think are just a lot more they go along with what's happened before them as opposed to narratives in anime can just be fucking insane. Like they, famously can just be super complex or just absolutely wild. And I just like how a story can, take you to all these different places. And I find that all the time in anime. There's just like so many interesting stories and so many interesting ways of telling a story. Um, but yeah, but Castlevania's cool. I don't really watch too much of it, but it's yeah, it's from
Yeah,
America.
it's not from Japan. I don't think so. Well, actually, no. Castlevania is a video game that was produced in Japan.
It is. It's produced by Konami, but the guy who does Castlevania, he's in Los Angeles. I watched this whole special on Netflix that went over it, so like it is specifically an American company. But but I ain't getting into the weeds. Like who fucking
Yeah,
cares? Like what? Watch the show
yeah,
you want. I don't give a
yeah.
shit.
But see, yeah, I don't know as much as anime, so I'm picking your brain. So,
Sure.
what's next for Xerox in the next year? Are you gonna do some shows, more music,
Yeah.
paint your
Shows.
house?
Yeah, right here. After I paint this. um. Yeah. We'd like to do shows. We kind of need a bassist because we don't have a like I write all the stuff, but we need someone to actually like play the bass live.
You can just put like an ad, but you should do the ad with that wallpaper, and you should be like, "I need a bassist.
I
The
really want a
the
bass player.
bassist needs to come to this address at this time. Come alone."
Yeah, and I live behind a bar, so like just extra cherry on top there. It's behind a
Yeah,
bar. Don't worry, it's all
yeah,
good.
all
Right?
good. But yeah, I know. Yeah, you need that extra basis so you can take this out. I'm sure it would be a cool show. Plus, you could put like some like anime or stuff in the back for entertainment purposes, and
Sure. Yeah.
obviously have a spread so when the old lady shows up, she can have something to eat.
Yeah. That's I'm glad we did this because now I'm prepared. Now I know ahead of time. I
Now
gotta
you know
think.
how to prepare for that show.
Yeah. All the stuff,
Yeah,
Yeah.
so man, it's been great chatting with you about, music, anime, and everything Xerox. So I will post the link for people who wanna, if they wanna purchase the album on Bandcamp or wanna watch a music video or anything, can do that. Besides the album, do you have any like T-shirts or merch that they can buy?
Not yet, but next year definitely. Yeah,
Next
there'll
year.
be stuff.
But yeah, so be on the lookout for that. So again, thank you for your time, and hope that the show, when you do the show, it turns out cool, and can't wait to hear more stories from Zeroz. So until next time, people, this is Hector, the Shield on a Couch, and I'll see you all right here on the couch. Thank you and goodbye.